Hi, everyone. It's Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing, and welcome to the author journey. For those of you who are on the east coast of Canada, you probably know that we are just digging out of quite a winter storm. I'm in Halifax, so not too bad, and I was able to get my car out today. But today's author, I'm really happy that she's able to join us because she's in Cape Breton, where they had 100 centimeters of snow. Like, just absorb that for a second. So anybody who's watching and is not in a snow belt, count yourselves lucky. But today's author, I'm really pleased to have join us today, Hope Dalvay, who has a not so secret. And this is something I just loved, really drew me in. She's a daydreamer. And I have to be honest, a lot of authors are, because that's just kind of what drives us. To her relief, she's turned her daydreaming habit into a passion for writing. Her educational picture book, The Multiplication Rap, 2023, and her middle grade children's novels, Welcome to Camp Fill in the Blank, 2019, and My Year as a Space Cadet, 2021, all with Acorn Press, are available where books are sold. And she's a huge fan of the Anne and Green Gables, and she's excited that her short story, In Search of Kindred Spirits, will be included in the anthology. I like that because I'm Anne with an E as well. It's a collection of short stories inspired by the Canadian literary icon Lucy Maud Montgomery and her Anne of Green Gables, which will be coming out in the spring. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we have a chat with Hope Dalvay. Hi, Hope. Thank you so much for joining
Hi,
us. I'm
Anne.
so
How are
happy
you?
that you survived the snowmageddon, we're calling it, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we survived.
it's,
Yeah.
it's
Well, thanks
and
for
we have.
having me.
Oh, it's totally my pleasure, and it's been a while. I've been wanting to have you on the author journey for a while, so I'm happy that we finally have you, and we were able to coordinate dates, and the snowstorm didn't keep it from happening.
Yeah, thank goodness our power didn't go out. So we're very lucky. So
Oh, I know. Ours either. So, we'll count our blessings, right? So, really excited. As I said, you've got these three wonderful books. I'm going to bring these covers up so everybody can admire the books that you have out currently, and we'll talk a little bit about what's coming as we continue our chat. And the other thing I loved as I was reading Welcome to Camp Fill in the Blank on the weekend. Um, in my younger days, I was a preschool teacher, and I actually did a summer camp here in Halifax with the YMCA called Blue Nose in My Bones Day Camp. So, so talk a little bit about what was the inspiration behind these books, and what triggered your love of children's literature.
well, actually, I guess I'm a bit of a late bloomer when it comes to writing. I was 44. It was November 2014, and I think I've been thinking about the first book, the inspiration for the first book. I've been thinking about it for like a year, and then I
Mm-hmm.
finally said to myself, "You don't want to have regrets in life. Go ahead, just do it."
Get her
And
written.
yeah, get it done. And Welcome to Camp Fill in the Blank. Like the origin story is, oh yeah, I have two sons,
Okay.
and the older son has food allergies, and he always wanted to go to summer camp, but we wouldn't let him because of his food allergies. And then I think I thought to myself, wouldn't it be nice if, he had a summer camp in his backyard? And then I thought, well, that's the idea of a book, a summer camp in the backyard. And I was thinking, oh, like an older cousin would come in and be the camp counselor. And then I was thinking it'd be better if she didn't know her younger cousins. So that means she would have to be far, like she would have to live
From
far.
away. She needed to
Yeah,
be a come from away. Uh-huh.
come from away. And I was thinking, well, the only place that I've been, outside the Maritimes, my husband and I used to live in Saudi Arabia. And I was thinking, oh, the older cousin could be from Saudi Arabia. and a little bit older. She's 14,
Mhm.
and she would be kind of a fish out of water. She's
Mhm.
Canadian citizen, but she hasn't really lived in Canada, and so I
So that
thought that
was
would be the premise of
that's
the
really
book.
cool, and that was another sort of commonality that we had. We both have lived in the Middle East,
Yeah.
and when you talk can't fill in the blank, who lived in Saudi, you know, they we call them third culture kids, kids who
Yeah.
don't live in the parents' home country, that may or may not have been born outside of their parents' country of origin. So there's a lot of fodder for some really cool interaction here.
And I like to write humorous stories, so there's a lot of humor too. Like she wouldn't understand certain things
Yeah.
about Canadian culture, even though she is Canadian,
Hmm.
and so that would kind of trip her up a little bit. And
Hmm.
just her perspective, her mindset,
Hmm.
her like how she views the world. It would be a little different from
Hmm.
like the typical Canadian kid,
I
and
had I laughed out loud in several places. And
yeah.
what I also liked about it, she's a little old fashioned too.
Well, actually, I did that on purpose too. Like a reader, the young reader, they'll be thinking, "What's wrong with this girl?"
Right, she's a bit
But
odd,
so
right?
she's a bit odd. But the thing is, like the novel set in 2003, and the beginning chapters are in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia,
Mhm,
and so she wouldn't have spent much time on the internet because it would be dial up and you'd have to pay
mhm.
by the minute back then. And so
Yeah.
she wouldn't spend her time on the internet. And she would go to a British school on the other side of the city.
Mhm,
And on the weekends, she would go camping with her parents in the desert. So she
mhm,
wasn't really surrounded by pulp culture that much or other kids, even.
mhm,
So that's why, so she's a bit naive. Like
mhm,
in some ways, she's seen the world, but she's not worldly. And so
mhm,
the other kids like the older kids in the novel, like her friend Delory and the boy next door, WMD, I think they
mhm.
kind of shake their heads like, why doesn't she understand these things? But so she's a bit naive. And I did that on purpose because I thought it would be funny too.
I love it. And you have 2 kids, 2
Yeah,
boys, and
yeah, two
how
boys.
how involved
They're all
they're
grown up now, but
right, but how involved were they in the process of, the
um,
story idea development and that kind of thing?
I guess, like, they're very supportive, and
Mhm.
but they didn't want themselves in the book, so I had to be very careful that like, there are the younger cousins in the book, Crusoe
Mhm,
and Danger.
mhm.
They're not based on my sons because they would not like it if I did that, so,
Okay.
um,
I love
like
the names. It's
yeah, Crusoe
something
and
that
Danger.
we talk about as authors is like, okay, where do you come up with your names? And, how did you come up with
Well,
Crusoe? And then, of course, that's Robinson Crusoe, right?
right,
And
and,
Danger.
Danger well, I guess, Robinson Crusoe. So the most of the book happens in the backyard, and
Mhm,
Paige, the main character, has like a different camp theme like every week, and she
mhm.
plans it perfectly. Only, of course, her plans always blow up in her face; then never work out. And so, in my mind, it's almost like she's marooned on an island in the backyard. So,
Mhm.
Robinson Crusoe. And so, yeah.
Ah, okay, okay. I love that. So when you had come up with this idea, were your kids already grown up or were they still pretty young?
The younger one would be about the right age at that time. So,
Mhm,
and that's another reason why I decided to like go ahead and write the book because his favorite books are humorous books, like they're funny books,
I love
and
that.
there
Like
aren't that.
Captain Underpants kinda thing?
And yeah, and well, like Gordon Corman books,
Mhm,
Bruno and Boots, but there aren't. I don't know if there are that many like humorous middle
mm,
grade books, or they're not. They're never enough, I guess. And so I thought,
right. Always room
maybe
for more.
I'll try one. I'll try writing.
I wanna give a shout out to the folks who are watching. Sue Slade has joined us. She says, "Hello, Hope and Ann." Hi, Sue. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
And if anybody has questions for Hope or myself as we're chatting, feel free to drop them in the comments. And we'll hope to get to them. So you also, so the next in the series, so you wrote Welcome to Camp Fill in the Blank, and then, I mean, no spoilers, but
The
if you
kids.
read number two before number one, then you actually know what's happening. So talk a little bit about My Year as a Space Cadet.
Well, I wanted to continue to follow Paige, so she stays with her aunt and uncle and her cousins on PEI, and
Mm-hmm.
she starts junior high, grade 9, in Charlottetown. And I was thinking there'd be so much humor because she would have so much trouble fitting in. And so I thought, well, I have to write another book. This will be fun. And of course, she goes to Shale Academy of Creativity and Excellence, more commonly known as SPACE. And
Mm-hmm.
the kids who go to SPACE are called Space Cadets, like its unflattering nickname. And they have very low self-esteem. And there's a rivalry with another junior high in Charlottetown called Nottingham. And
Mm-hmm.
um, and then of course, to make it funny, I put a prank war in it. And
I love that.
and then and then the prank war ends pretty quickly, thank goodness. And there are consequences for the prank war. And the consequences are they have to um, participate in a series of trivia contests between the two junior highs. And yeah, as punishment, basically. And yeah,
Oh,
so
I
I had
love it.
like a lot of fun with that.
Well, this might be a good point for you to maybe do a little reading from My Year as a Space Cadet.
Okay,
Do-
sure. So it's a trivia contest, and it's the third one. And at this point in the contest, the two team captains of the rival junior highs have to go up against each other, like head to head. So Paige is the team captain for Space, and Martin's the team captain for Nottingham. And so there's a lot of pressure. And okay, so I'll find it. And so the first series of questions are inspired by the Heritage Minutes. And of course, Paige grew up in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, so she doesn't know anything about these Heritage Minutes that appeared on Canadian television. Okay. What? But I grew up in Saudi Arabia. I don't know what the Heritage Minutes series is. I think I'm in trouble. Team captains, here is your first question. The pet bear of a Canadian soldier in World War I became the inspiration for a famous bear in children's literature. This bear was named after the soldier's hometown. What is the name of this Canadian city? A famous bear in children's literature? Is it Paddington Bear? But he's from Peru. I don't think I'm on the right track. Clang. Go ahead, Martin from Nottingham. Winnipeg, said Martin without the slightest hesitation. Yes, you are indeed correct. The literary bear in question is, of course, Winnie the Pooh. The audience exchanged smiles and shared remembrance of the Heritage Minute. Point to Nottingham. Here's your next question. In World War I, 3 soldiers from Pine Street in Winnipeg won the Victoria Cross Medal for Valor. Pine Street was later renamed to what? How am I supposed to know the name of a street in Winnipeg? I don't even know the names of the streets of Charlottetown, and I live here. I hope these questions aren't all about Winnipeg. Clang. Valor Road, answered Martin with confidence. Everyone in the audience nodded in agreement. Okay, I'm a big believer in renaming things, but how am I supposed to know Valor Road? Maybe if I had ever watched any of these Heritage Minutes. Another point to Nottingham, said Dr. Canterbury. Shale Pit is now trailing by 3 points. Here is your next question, team captains. 1 year before breaking the color barrier in the major leagues in 1947, Jackie Robinson played baseball in a Canadian city for a farm team of the Brooklyn Dodgers. What is the name of this Canadian city? Am I having a nightmare right now? A trivia question based on the Heritage Minute about a famous sports hero? What's a farm team anyway? I haven't a clue what the answer is. Maybe there's a pattern and the answer is Winnipeg. Clang. Montreal, said Martin. More nods of agreement from the audience. I glanced back at my teammates, and they were nodding their heads too. Yet another point to Nottingham. Okay, here's your next question. What was raised for the first time on Parliament Hill on February 15th, 1965? I stood there blinking helplessly. February 15th, 1965? But we never made it that far in history in class. Clang. The maple leaf flag, answered Martin. What? The maple leaf flag was raised for the first time in 1965? How can that be? Correct, said Dr. Canterbury. And if any of you have watched that particular Heritage Minute, you would of course know that the maple leaf has not always been Canada's flag. Erg, these Heritage Minutes are killing me. I desperately wanted to cover my face with my hands, but that would be admitting defeat. Do not give up. And now for Mr. Reeves' final question, announced Dr. Canterbury. A Canadian-born artist by the name of Joe Shuster co-created what comic book superhero? I know this one. I actually know this one, I shouted in my head. Having an uncle who owns a comic book shop finally has its advantages. Honk. Go ahead, team captain from Shale Pit. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Did he just call me team captain for the third time this match? But he's made an effort to read everyone else's name tag from Team Space. Why not mine too? Erg, focus, Paige. Superman, I answered. I glanced at the audience and saw Crusoe and Danger making Superman-like flying motions with their arms. Or maybe they were just stretching. I couldn't tell for sure. Point to Shale Pit. Okay, let's say goodbye to Mr. Reeves' questions. More like good riddance. And say hello to those from Mr. Norris. Here is your first one. In 1928, mold juice was discovered. It's considered one of the greatest medical breakthroughs of the 20th century. What is mold juice better known as? Honk. Penicillin, I answered with renewed confidence. I glanced at Martin in time to see him mouthing the words mold juice and raising his eyebrows at me. I interpret this as meaning, are your teacher's questions all going to be like this? Point to Shale Pit. Next question. Considered one of Canada's greatest runners of all time, this world champion from 6 nations of the Grand River set aside his professional running career to enlist in World War I. Who was he? Honk. Tom Longboat. Normally, I wouldn't even attempt to answer a sports-related question, but I remember Mr. Norris mentioning Tom Longboat in our class discussion about heroes. Point to Shale Pit. Next question. The Netherlands sends thousands of these to Canada each year as a thank you gift to Canadian soldiers for freeing the Dutch in World War II. What is this gift? I froze. Mr. Norris never mentioned this in class. At least I don't remember him mentioning it. I'm going to have to guess. What is the Netherlands known for? Windmills? Wooden shoes? Wait, I think I've got it. Honk. Tulip bulbs? I said in a less than confident voice. Point to Shale Pit. Okay, just an update, everyone. Shale Pit now trails Nottingham by 1 point. If I answer the next question, I can tie up the match. Be bold. Take a chance. Go big or go home. Ugh, stop talking to yourself. Who gave the I have a honk? Martin Luther King Jr. Dream speech on August 28th, 1963, finished Dr. Canterbury. Point to Shale Pit. Okay, the match is now tied with one more question left. Good luck to both of you. But there's no such thing as luck, muttered the annoying voice in my head. Who is commonly considered the father of India? Like 2 gunslingers locked in a duel, we suddenly made our move. I'm sorry, folks, but I can't distinguish which team captain rang in first. I'll have to discount this question and ask them another one. For the sake of curiosity, go ahead and give me your answers, team captains. Gandhi, we said in unison. We couldn't hide the disappointment in our voices. We were so close to ending this roller coaster ride, and now here we were, stuck at the top of a loop once again. Okay, team captains, said Dr. Canterbury, here is your final question. Again. In 1972. Clang! What? I turned and stared at Martin in disbelief. I have no idea what the answer is, or even the question, for that matter. And what about Martin's vow of after the first contest to never ring in early ever again? The Munich Olympics, gasped Martin, as though he were finally crossing the line of a running race. That is incorrect, said Dr. Canterbury. Martin closed his eyes, realizing his shot at victory had slipped through his fingers. I'll finish the question so the team captain from Shale Pit has an opportunity to answer. In 1972, who scored the winning goal in the Summit Series between Canada and the Soviet Union? Oh no, I've never even heard of the Summit Series. Winning goal? Could this be a hockey question? What's with Canadians and their obsession with hockey? And what does hockey have anything to do with history anyway? I'm doomed, doomed, doomed. Just guess. It's worked before. Maybe it'll work again. Okay, I'll say the name of the only hockey player I can think of. Brad Richards? My answer was greeted with groans from Team Space, squeals from Team Nottingham, and horrified gasps from the audience. That answer is incorrect, said Dr. Canterbury. It would be difficult for Brad Richards to score the winning goal in the Summit Series, considering he hadn't even been born yet. Okay, audience, why don't you have a go at it? Paul Henderson chorused every single person in the cafeteria, except for me, of course. I felt like such a failure. I had let down my team. And then, but that's not the end of it. But read the book to see what happens next, I guess.
I'm like, oh, I was sure that she was going to get it.
But no, there's more to the story. So
Oh,
yeah.
of course. We have to leave people wanting more, right? And I just want to say, hi, Mark Shoup has just joined us.
Oh.
Nice to see you, Mark. So, and speaking of another middle grade author, so talk a little bit about your process. So you were saying you came into the sort of author realm a little later in life, as I did. Do you have like a daily writing routine, or like
Yeah,
how does that work for you?
yeah, I wish I did because like I read about authors and they're like, oh, I write every day, and I'm like, oh no, like some authors, they say they have like dozens of ideas for stories, and I'm like, no, I've got one at a time. So basically, I have like one idea, and then I go for walks and I think about it, and I think about conversations and scenes, and I find once I have the idea for the story, I have the beginning, and I usually know the end, and then it's the middle that's the hard part,
The
and
sagging middle, we
it's the
call it,
middle, and
right?
it's all about for me, it's all about putting obstacles in the way of the main character. So I have
Mhm,
to come up with conflict, but in my stories, I like humor. So
mhm,
it's like usually awkward situations, funny situations.
mhm.
So it's not like live or die conflict kind of thing, but it's I
Right.
come up
And
with awkward situations, and so I guess
do
that's
some of
where
them
yeah,
mirror, like, your own experience? Like, did you
yeah
go to
some
summer camp as a kid?
yeah I did go to summer camp, and but I did have to rely on my imagination for a lot of it, and but I mean I do like I had two boys, so some of that kind of came into the books. So yeah.
So when I've done, like I said, playground leader stuff and camp stuff, and I was a preschool teacher in a previous life prior to going into PR and then publishing eventually. Um, so I loved the whole, like, as she was trying to think of ideas for the camps and Camp Arg, with the pirates, and so I have to applaud you, admire you for the active imagination, but I'm sure some of it sprung from, being a mom to two active
Yeah,
boys.
practice always like camp obstacle, like the obstacle course.
Mhm.
My older son would do that in the backyard. Like he would just take everything out of the shed and line it up on the lawn, and he you
Mhm.
make a course, and so that part was from real life. And usually I try not to put people that I know in my books, but it does happen. Like I can't help it. And for instance, Moxie's like a strong character
Mhm.
in the
I
two novels,
loved her,
and she
yes.
yeah, and she's based on a real person.
Oh,
Yeah. So and like a very
was
she's
that
a bit
real person excited about having
yeah,
a
she's
character in a
okay with
book
it,
based
thank
on them?
goodness.
That's
Well,
good.
she's such a strong character. Like whenever I talk to kids who've read the books,
Mhm.
uh, they love Moxie and they love WMD, like the mysterious boy next door. They're
Yeah.
their favorite
I
characters.
didn't have that figured out at all, which is
Like
what
there's a mystery about
a
WMD. So
little
yeah.
mystery. I love the little mysteries woven in, and the family relationships. Um, and again, I just don't want to spoil anything, but the thought of locking your two kids in the backyard for the whole summer and making them sleep in the shed was really kind of funny,
Well,
because
it's
I'm
a bit
sure a lot of parents
extreme.
want to do that.
It's a bit extreme, but yeah, that's where the fiction comes in. I hope that
Right,
yeah.
exactly, exactly. So, Sue says she was a camp counselor in Ontario for the summer in
Oh,
1991.
I might have to
So,
interview you and Sue for like an upcoming
more
book,
ideas.
for
Oh,
ideas.
sure. So, what are you working on now?
Well, I just finished another novel, like middle grade children's novel. This one's a standalone,
Okay.
and so I finished it at the end of November, and so I'm hoping it'll be published. And that one's called Butter Tart Island,
Ooh.
and it's about a girl. She's turning 13. Her name is Jane Smith. Jane Smith and her family moved to PEI at the worst possible time, January 2015, the
Ah.
horrible, terrible winter of 2015. So that's like,
Mm.
so that's funny when they moved to PEI then at the worst possible time.
Was
And
that White Wand in
that,
2015? Was
oh, 2015 was just storm after storm. Just
was it?
wouldn't let up. It was terrible. Um, and as part of a class project, they have pen pals. And her pen pal is from the micronation of Butter Tart Island. And
Ah.
micronations are usually like a wealthy person owns an island and it becomes a micronation. So he's from this wealthy family, and that's her pen pal. And they both keep secrets from each other, and it's very humorous. I hope so.
Oh, it sounds amazing. So you're just crossing your fingers
Crossing
and
my
it's out there
fingers.
and
Yeah.
hoping for, but you've got something else coming up in the
In
spring.
yeah,
What, talk a little bit about the anthology while we
yeah,
have a couple minutes left.
people are really excited about this. The anthology. Um, so it's a collection of short stories inspired by Anne of Green Gables,
Mhm.
and all of them, and the authors are from across Canada, and they all most of them are different genres of writing. So,
Very
like
cool.
horror and ghost story, and like a free written, like a story written in free verse. And so they take Anne in different directions. And
Wow.
it's I haven't read it yet, but I know what I'm familiar with the authors and what their style of writing is. So it's going to be
Uh-huh.
very exciting.
And
And
this one is also Acorn Press.
yeah, this is Acorn Press coming out in June.
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
yeah, the authors are from across Canada.
Oh my
And
goodness.
and my
I
story,
can't wait.
yeah, my story is contemporary PEI, and what would Anne be like in junior high school? And it's humorous, and I think like Ella Montgomery, she's probably not known for her humorous writing, but I think her writing's really funny. So that's what
Oh,
I like
I love
about
it. And if anybody has not seen Anne of Green Gables, highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. And the
oh,
books, like get the books,
like the
like
mini series and
the
the
play or the
oh
play.
Actually, the play is how I was introduced to Anne of Green Gables, like, in Charlottetown. That was my
Yeah,
first
it's a
introduction to it.
wonderful thing. And I want to bring up your website again. So if anybody is interested in learning more about Hope and her books, make sure that you visit her website. I'm going to bring that up as well. Visit her website. And what's the best way? Are you on social media as well,
Yeah,
Hope?
the
Are there,
best way to
okay.
contact me would be, like, probably Instagram and Facebook, and I should mention while we're still here, I had a picture book, come out in the
Oh,
summer. Yeah,
right. Oh my
the
goodness, I can't believe.
yeah,
Yes,
the
there it is. Multiplication
multiplication
wrap.
map. So, yeah, so this was actually the first thing I ever wrote. It was, in the summer of 2014, and my son was about to learn the times tables in school. So I thought I'd get a head start on it with him. And I thought, oh, he's going to be so, bored just sitting down trying to memorize the times tables. And so I wrote rhymes for the times tables to make it interesting for him.
I love it.
And I love the book, and the illustrations are by an island artist named Kate Chisholm, and they're very like a very playful vibe to the illustrations. And
Adorable. Oh, I'm glad. I meant to bring that up. I'm glad that you didn't let that go unmentioned. The most recent, and
yeah,
that was just last year, 2023, right?
yeah, yeah, in the summer it came out, and yeah, so I'm hoping like if you know of a kid who's might be a little scared to learn the times tables, like to find this book, and hopefully they'll have make it fun. The book will make it fun for them, and boost their confidence. Because I find with math, it's all about confidence in school, and
Right.
if you don't have it, then it's very difficult. But if you have confidence,
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
And as you learn it and it sticks, then things build from that. But if you get behind, that can really cause problems. I was not a math whiz and I had a lot of trouble, but there we have Hope Dalvay's books, Welcome to Camp Fill in the Blank, My Year as a Space Cadet, and The Multiplication Wrap, her most recent children's picture book. Well, I can't believe that we're out of time, Hope, but I'm really happy that you were able to join us today on the author journey. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a lot of fun. Thank you.
I can't believe it went so fast. So hang out in the green room while
Okay.
I wrap up here, and I hope that you get yourself dug out before too long.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us today on the author journey and exploring the imagination of daydreamer and author Hope Dalvay. So we'll see you soon. And for now, happy reading and